Good afternoon, guys. Today is the 8th of April at 3:15, which means there is just about 4 hours until Donald Trump makes his announcement regarding the Iran nuclear deal. But before we get there, we've got some other reports that I want to address. So, Melania Trump rolls out Be Best, a children's agenda with a focus on social media. Basically, a movement in kind of similar to Michelle Obama's Just Move kind of movement, where they're focusing on children. That strikes me as odd in connection with the Jeff Sessions report that parents and children illegally crossing the border will be separated. It makes me want to put out a warning for the children again, because they seem to be moving very slowly. At first, it's the immigrants and the illegal immigrants who are crossing the border that can have their children taken. But how much would it really take to expand that into different areas, like someone with a history of mental health, for example, or someone who has, some instability somewhere in their life? These policies are dangerous because they can be expanded on, which then, people are just like, oh my God, where did this come from? And this is where it's coming from. So pay attention to it now before it gets worse. Rudy Giuliani, the mayor of New York, when 9/11 happened, obviously he's been on the media a lot, talking whatever he's talking, and I haven't really been paying attention. The significant point is that while we're coming into this time frame of very high volatility, we've got Mayor Giuliani coming back into the scene. Another reference to 9/11, and if we're looking at the second 9/11, then we have the mayor of New York again somehow involved and somehow prominent, even though he hasn't been a mayor or a real attorney for a number of years. Strange? I'm not sure. It all kind of makes me think about the connection with when Donald Trump went to the NRA conference, and there was the connection to the JFK assassination and all those kind of stuff. History is being repeated. That's all I can see. History is being repeated, and it's not as if it's like unknowable history. These are things that we all know, but they're doing it so quickly and with so many things happening at the same time. You kind of think, oh, Rudy Giuliani, he's back. But then you kind of have to remember that we're looking at a second 9/11 event taking place, and we've got the mayor of New York, where the original 9/11 event did take place. So something to pay attention to. Not only that, but obviously you've got John Bolton in there. He's a war hawk on Iran and North Korea, so you know that he's going to be advising Donald Trump on some crazy stuff, and Donald Trump is, he has crazy thoughts himself in relation to these countries, Fire and Fury, for example. And then you've got Mike Pompeo as well, Secretary of State now, his second name having a similar connection to Pompeo, which is a volcano. And then you've got Kilauea going off in Hawaii, and you've got rumblings around Cumbre Vieja and Stromboli's erupting in Italy. And, it's all coming around the same time as they put a guy with the kind of similar name to one of the volcanoes in there. That may just be coincidental, but I don't think so. Reports that China's Xi Jinping may have met with a North Korean official. I just made this video, and just as I was about to upload it, I got another report in that actually says the North Korean official was Kim Jong-un, or is Kim Jong-un. He is in China now. Again, he's in China. What is he doing there? This is telling me that something's going on behind the scenes. I already know something's going on behind the scenes, but then you've got these reports that are coming out with North Korea going to visit Xi Jinping on the same day as Donald Trump is due to announce his decision on the Iran nuclear deal. I wonder what the conversation between them is. Is Xi Jinping preparing to send China through past the Chinese-North Korean border through to South Korea in the event that something kicks off with the United States? Does that happen today? Does that happen in the next coming days? We don't know exactly, but we definitely have a time frame, and the time frame is now. So definitely something to keep an eye on. Again, the catch a tiger by the tail reference is dangerous, and Donald Trump has allowed himself to be put in a dangerous situation. If the talks go well, Kim Jong-un wins. If the talks go bad, Kim Jong-un wins. It's very difficult for Donald Trump to come out of this with, in a better position than he was before. All it takes is North Korea, like they've just kind of given a little inkling to, the little first rumblings of discontent, saying that the whole coming to the table was nothing to do with the sanctions or with President Donald Trump, and how they see that as a provocation. Again, the provocation word is coming up again. That hasn't been used for a number of months. Now it's coming back up. Now Kim Jong-un's gone to see Xi Jinping, just as Donald Trump is doing the Iran nuclear deal, just as the volcano is erupting, just as there's talk about a big one hitting Southern California, which I'll get to in a minute, because we've actually had an earthquake in California again today, a rare earthquake in the Gulf of Mexico. I'm not going to go through it all because I could just keep going from all the things that have happened this year. It's a crazy year, 2018, and we need to be incredibly watchful because, especially when we see reports like this with Turkey blasting Israel for oppressing Palestinians. Turkey is a NATO ally. Of course, they have their opinions that they can express. That's fine to do. But when you have read reports, earlier reports, that Turkey, Iran, Syria, and Iraq have met and have had a conference, a meeting in relation to the Middle East, you then begin to wonder, what is Turkey going to do? I've already mentioned a long time ago that Turkey is strategically important for both sides because of where they're positioned. And obviously, if Turkey does switch, that makes things a lot more difficult for NATO. It makes things difficult for Israel, but it makes things a lot easier for Iran and for Russia and for Syria and for Iraq. So I believe that Turkey will make a switch soon, and we'll see the axis there, what they call the axis of these countries opposing the other axis of countries, the USA, France, UK. You know all about that one. Netanyahu, he just won't stop. He's saying that Iran is deploying arms in Syria to threaten Israel, and we already know that Israel has said that they will not allow Iran to build up a base or any sort of threats towards Israel in Syria. So it's important to pay attention when they say that Iran is deploying very dangerous weapons in Syria, because it says that they're going to attack if Iran doesn't attack first. So it looks like Iran is building up military and equipment in Syria, preparing to launch a strike against Israel, but Israel is watching all that very closely and may preemptively launch a strike on Iran, which is what I think the IPEC video depicts, because we have the three fighter jets that come across, drop a bomb, and then we have a result after that. Again, that may have already happened when Israel struck the ammunitions warehouse and we had that big explosion, and now we've got the rumblings of war coming up after that, because I don't think the IPEC video in that scene is like, oh, a missile comes and then 5 missiles come straight afterwards. I think that's a progressive scene. So it could be that that event, that scene has already taken place, and now we're waiting for the 5 missile response, which probably won't actually be 5 missiles, but represents a salvo of missiles, which is what Israel has said they're going to be looking out for, coming from Iran, launching out of Syria. Again, we're all in that time frame. Cumbre Vieja, in that kind of region, they've had over 270 earthquakes affecting that area. Looking at the map here, you can see the earthquakes have been situated mainly between Santa Cruz de Tenerife and Las Palmas de Gran Canaria. When you actually look at the map, that would be over here, and Cumbre Vieja is over here. So there's a little bit of distance between them, but obviously, as I said before, earthquake energy doesn't disappear, it dissipates, so it's possible that it could radiate out this way, affecting Mount Tide, which is a dormant volcano on this island, and also affecting Cumbre Vieja, which is a volcano we're looking out for, not just for the eruption, but for potential landslide of the flank, or the flank collapsing into the ocean, which would be a landslide, creating a tsunami, which would affect the entire Atlantic basin. Again, we don't know if that's going to happen, but since we've been looking at it, we've only seen more activity taking place there, and it's a similar theory with a lot of the things that we've been looking at. So, these things do take time, but I think the time is running out and we haven't got much left. The 4.5 magnitude quake that shook Southern California today, I believe, may be a result of the 4.3 magnitude earthquake that took place in Hawaii a couple of days ago. This is important because if that's true, then shortly after the 4.3 magnitude earthquake in Hawaii, there was a 6.9 magnitude earthquake. Now, if that is the theory, that the earthquake energy from Hawaii is moving across the the tectonic plate and through the fracture lines of the Earth, and possibly building up along the west coast of the United States, then a 6.5 or 6.9, did I say, that shook Hawaii the other day, may be on the way to California or to the west coast as we speak. The 4.5 is taking place today. It could be that a magnitude 7 or above strikes California in the next couple of days, which only ties in with the theory that they're, looking for the big one. They're always talking about these fears of the big one. They had a pretty big earthquake recently, which we talked about, the shaking of the bald eagle's nest, the reputation of America being shaken, and it's possible that something larger could be on the way coming from Hawaii. We'll see. Bomb threats to schools in the UK. This is the third round of bomb threats to schools in the UK, which makes me just want to put a warning out for the schools in the UK, because I don't know, but the iPad Goat video here, there's a few translations that could be connected to that, or definitely connected to the UK. The blue and red scene, first you get the blue scene, then it evolves into the red scene. The B and the R from blue and red can add on to exit, which would make Brexit something that we're currently going through and is happening at the moment. We've got children here in a classroom, and we've got the bomb threats being sent to schools around the UK. So I just want to put a warning out there. I don't know if that is what the translation is, but if there's even a 1% chance that it is the translation or is another possible translation for this scene, as I find that all of these scenes are multi-layered, multifaceted, like a diamond. They just have so many different ways of looking at it. That could be a possible interpretation. So, be careful when you're hearing these reports. Don't just ignore them, because what tends to happen is when you're hearing a report over and over again, you become accustomed to it and it tends to get ignored. The first time I saw the bomb threats, I don't know if I mentioned it. I think I did. The second time I didn't bother. Now we've got a third time, and in sets of threes is an important thing to pay attention to. So schools in the UK, keep an eye out. Earthquake on a larger earthquake, 7 or above, maybe coming in the next couple of days for California. The Iran nuclear deal being decided today. China and Xi Jinping and North Korea, Xi Jinping and Kim Jong-un meeting today on the same day as the Iran nuclear deal, while the volcano in Hawaii continues to erupt, and earthquakes are becoming more frequent and happening in rarer places. Just reminds me of the Bible, earthquakes happening in diverse places. I believe diverse is diverse places, so many different places, which is essentially happening now. All these volcanoes waking up around the globe, dragon capsules crashing down, stock markets falling by 666, nuclear drones, a nuclear system that's called Dead Hand is what Russia's got. If they're attacked by a nuclear weapon, it's a system that will release all their nuclear weapons. So that's a pretty extreme scenario. The royal wedding coming up on May the 19th. The asteroid flying by on May the 18th. Well, their report of an asteroid flying by. I don't know if it's true, but that's the report. I'm just bringing it to you. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot to watch out for. We are in some very, very high watch times. There's a lot of volatility going on. I would recommend just even watching these videos. I recommend you just sit down with your Bible for just even like 5 minutes a day. Just read one chapter. Find your strength in God. So you guys, with that said, have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and God bless.